Hi there. Today we're going to be making a creamy mushroom with linguine. And we're going to start off by doing some prep work. I'm going to be cutting up some shallots here. Getting my mise en place all in place. Once the shallots are done, I'm going to be smashing and mincing some garlic cloves. And I used about 5 or 6 here. I like a lot of garlic. You can leave it out if you want. And if you don't have shallots, you can use onions. It's entirely up to you. Everybody knows I just love garlic. I'm going to cut up a little bit of parsley for a little bit of garnish later on top. Add a little bit of freshness to the pasta. And then I'm going to, actually I grated the Parmigiano Reggiano off camera. And now I'm going to cut up some mushrooms. I've got some white mushrooms and some smallish, what they call baby bella, but we're more like full-size portobello in this case. And I'm just going to slice those up roughly. Uh-oh. I think we got a mushroom troll stealing some mushrooms out of my bowl. Got to pay the mushroom tax. Okay, we're going to get our pan started warming up. And ready to saute the mushrooms. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Or maybe a lot of oil. Olive oil. Once the pan gets up to temp, we're going to go ahead and add our mushrooms. This is, I've made mushroom sauces before. This one's a little bit different because it has an element of alcohol in it. Some people would use maybe a Marsala wine. I'm going to use a sherry because that's what I had on hand. So I'm going to add the mushrooms, put a little salt on them, and give them a good stir. The goal here is to help them release some of their liquids and get them a little bit brown. And you don't want it super wet when you take it out of the pan. You want to cook off a lot of the liquid that they're going to release. This takes a couple minutes. Oh, they smell so good right now, I have to tell you. I love the smell of mushrooms cooking. You don't have to stand over it, but it's good to just keep an eye on it depending on what heat you have your stove at. I think here I'm at probably medium to medium high. You just want to keep an eye on it because you don't want them to burn. Here I'm going to put in a little bit of this Mushroom & Co. umami from Trader Joe's. I love it. It really adds a lot of flavor to things, and it has mushroom powder, red pepper flakes, thyme, salt, pepper, you know, the usual stuff. But I sprinkle it on a lot of my dishes because I feel like it just adds that extra element of flavor. If you don't have it, it's no biggie. You know, you make up the flavors in other ways. Once these get to the right consistency that I want, I am going to remove them from the pan so that I can saute the shallots and garlic that we prepped earlier. Got to get my little handy dandy gripper on this pan because these cast iron pans get really, really hot. And now I'm just taking the mushrooms out and putting them in a side bowl. And you can see how nice and brown they are, but they're definitely not, black or like burnt. They have a very, very nice golden color. And once these guys are removed, probably could have used a bigger spoon on that. we're just going to go ahead and add a little bit more olive oil to the pan because the mushrooms really soak up the oil. And then I'm going to saute my shallots. And I'm going to saute these until they get to be a little bit different in color, a little bit golden, and not super soft, just slightly cooked. And then when that's ready, I will add the garlic and cook that for a couple of minutes too. You can see here they've changed color. They're looking a little bit golden. And I think we're about ready to add the garlic. These are looking really good. Okay, I'm going to add my garlic. And you don't really need to cook it very long after you get the garlic in. Just enough, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds to get the flavors of the garlic coming out to the fore. And then once that happens, we're going to add our next ingredient, which is going to be our tomato paste. And tomato paste is great because it adds a little bit of an element of richness to the sauce, but it's really helpful if you can cook it a little bit first, and just it helps to caramelize it a little bit and really bring out that depth of flavor that it can bring to a dish. So once I'm done fiddling around here with the garlic and the shallots, I'm making a little space there, and I'm going to bring in my tomato paste and add that in. And you don't need a huge amount. I think there's probably maybe 2 tablespoons, 2 to 3 tablespoons. And I use the concentrated paste in a tube. I just find it's easier than trying to open up one of those little cans and then having that sit around for a while. So as you can see, I'm starting to move it around with the shallots and the garlic and just getting it caramelized on the bottom of the pan, bringing out all those yummy, yummy tomatoey goodness that's going to add richness to our sauce later. Now when this is done, I'm going to get my sherry, and this is the brand that I used, just what I had on hand. Always be careful adding alcohol to a pan. You want to sort of put your head back so that just in case it accidentally catches on fire, which I've had happen. And then you're going to cook this for a bit because you want to get that alcohol, raw alcohol flavor out of the mixture. So this helps to cook it off, and it also helps to reduce it. The alcohol is there for sort of a layer of flavor, but it's not supposed to be like really bitter alcohol flavor. And now I'm adding in the mushrooms again. And we're going to mix all of these together. This is really a very simple sauce. Limited ingredients, comes together very quickly. Probably the longest part is just the prep, getting everything ready for it. Oh, and maybe waiting for the pasta at the end. This is heavy cream, about 2 cups. And we're just going to add it directly in and stir it together. One thing that browning the mushrooms, browning the shallots, and the tomato paste does also is it makes the sauce a very lovely and rich color once it's had a chance to reduce a little bit. And you'll see that towards the end of the video, how pretty it looks. So I'm just stirring this together. And then in a moment, we're going to change angles so that I can show you while I'm cooking the pasta and how I mix it together. Are you trying to get out of weekend chores again? And boom. And you can see how the sauce there, how the color has changed. It's looking much more rich, and we're about to put the linguine in the boiling water, boiling salted water, of course. Always salt your pasta water. And I'm just putting it in whole. Get my tongs and give it a stir up so that it doesn't stick together. And we're just going to cook this pasta to al dente, which means that if you take a piece of it and you bite into it, you're going to get a little bit of resistance to your teeth. And the reason that we do that is because we're going to add it directly into the sauce, and that is going to continue to cook it. So if you were to cook it to, say, soft stage pasta with no resistance, by the time you got it in the sauce and continued to cook it, it would be mush. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a huge fan of mushy pasta. So this is the best way to do it, in my opinion. It also allows the pasta to suck up all of that wonderful sauce. And so you get like not just the sauce, but you get the pasta flavored by the sauce, which is great. And I've turned my sauce back on a little bit just to bring it up to a simmer. And now I'm going to pull my pasta out, give it a quick rinse, well, not a rinse, but a shake and a drain. And then I'm just going to put it directly into the pot with the sauce. I'm going to grab my tongs and I'm going to start stirring it around and getting all that lovely pasta covered by the sauce, mixing in the mushrooms and the shallots and the cream. I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit because I don't want it to cook too much. I wanted my sauce to be hot when I added the pasta. This smells so good right now. And now I'm going to be adding my cheese. And you can add as much or as little cheese as you want. I think this was probably about 3/4 of a cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. I'm going to mix that in lightly. And now at this point, if it was too thick, you could add a little bit of your pasta water and thin it out, but I felt like it was perfect, nice and creamy. There was plenty of sauce on the side, so this is what I'm going to go with. And then I'm going to put a little bit of parsley on top for a garnish and for some freshness. And that's the finished dish. And you could even add more cheese at this point, but I had only grated so much, so I actually added it when we were eating it at the table. So, and that's the finished dish. Yum.